Right, so in the meantime, Jackson is going off on these little missions where he's going back to the vampire court to try to save Hudson, because it turns out that his dad, Cyrus, really wants this boy to be thrown into that unbreakable prison for dusting all of his bones. Yeah, he feels a way about that, so he wants to lock his son up, and he's like trying to prevent him from doing that. And it's kind of Jackson being on his savior complex again, where he's like, you're not finna just do this to my brother or whatever. So he's off doing that, and they go to a dragon party. Yeah, Flint's mother, Nuri, and whatever the father's name is, the father has a name, but he's not important. So they're throwing a ball because it's dragon something going on. Luxury. It is an incredible party, and what happens is when you're there, they're in a ballroom, and there's a bunch of like jewels and envelopes floating above everybody's heads, you know. Think about it. I'm taking it back to Harry Potter. Think about it in the Great Hall. You know how the candles are suspended hanging up in there? Think of that, except it's jewels, like crown jewels and car keys and envelopes and stuff. And then they're asking like, what is this? And they're like, oh, this is our dragon hoard, because y'all remember how dragons typically, they like to hoard jewels, right? Is it the desolation of Smog, the desecration of Smog, the desperation of Smog? That Hobbit movie. And there was a dragon, and he was laid up in his gold, right? You remember? Yeah, they're very much like that in this book too. And so, but this is them flaunting their wealth, where I guess all of the dragons like contribute to the hoard. That's what their jewels are called, the hoard. And on party night, whatever day this is, everybody gathers and they can reach up and they pluck and they get whatever they want, right? Oh my God, invite me next time. That's all I'm saying. But I jumped ahead a little bit, but let me finish my thought. You can reach up and you can grab whatever you want. It could be a sapphire and diamond encrusted necklace. You could pick keys to a Rolls Royce. You might pick one of the envelopes, and there's shares to Google in there for like 50% or something. Like, I'm talking, I need to go to this party. At the end of this, and I'm gonna circle back, but at the end of this, Grace reaches up and she grabs one of the things, and I think she pulls out like $10 million or something. This bitch is a millionaire, just off the top. I need to go. Anyway, so they get there to the party, and Hudson was asking like Flint, like, hey, I killed your brother. Is everybody gonna be cool with me being there? Like, and Flint's like, I still feel crazy that you did that, but I feel crazier that my brother was on the wrong side of things. And so while I am working on forgiveness, you will be safe, and I am learning to not hold all of that against you. And so too will everybody else. So they hit it, they go, and as soon as they get there, they go upstairs, and the elevator doors open, and Nuri is his mom. Nuri is Flint's mom. She's like, seize him, arrest that man, that son killer. And everybody's like, what the hell?
Oh my God. I thought this was a classy party.
I thought you said that he would be safe here. And Flint is very confused too. And he was like, I thought he would be. This is beyond me as well. Well, Nuri decides to have the shackles thrown on him. They're like magic canceling shackles. And she was like, take him to the dungeon. Fuck that nigga. He killed my son. I'll never forgive him. I mean, it was way more intense than that, but that's basically what happened. And so Grace gets all in her face, and she was like, this ain't it. This is ridiculous. I demand you release him. And they go and have a conversation or whatever. And she was like, you refer to me as Queen Nuri of the Dragons. And she was like, ditto. You will refer to me Queen Grace of the Gargoyles, if that's how we really acting. And so they was going toe to toe. And I was kind of like, come on, Grace. Come on, Grace. nice because at the end of the day, Nuri actually did try it. Like, I know you're like, well, he killed her son, so obviously, and I get it, but if you read the book though, she did kind of try it a little bit. She tried it a little bit, but listen, she does end up letting Hudson go. Okay, Grace goes down there and she springs him out of the jail, which he was completely fine. They wasn't torturing him or nothing because he like mind controlled them. It was fine. And then they go to the party with the floating shit, but I just really wanted to get that out because that is so cool. They also was walking on the sky because they're in, is it Manhattan? Dragon Headquarters is in New York, right? So maybe they was walking over Times Square or something. I don't know, but they're in the clouds and they step off of the balcony and they walk outside and they're just walking in the sky. And it's because there's actually a floor, a ground in the sky that is invisible, and there's like a marketplace going on. It's like this giant celebration in the clouds, and then nobody down below can see it because it's all magic. It's nobody can see it down below, but up top they just feel like they're walking on air. It's really cool. All right, so after that they go back to the school and they graduate, and then on the day of graduation, as they're walking out on the campus celebrating with each other and asking what everybody wants to do, Hudson immediately gets arrested. Yeah.
I hope you like prison food.
Cyrus sent his goons to go collect him and bring him to prison. You see this picture here? Those are shackles. That's what this book is about. This was always going to happen. So they put him in the clink clinks, you know, and Grace was like, no, I'm going with him. I'm going with my maid, because that was always the plan, right? That was always the plan. And then also in 2, Flint gets arrested. Oh my God. No, that was a part of the plot that I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh my God. We knew Hudson and Grace was going to go because that's what they said they were going to do. That's the plot of the story. But Flint's getting arrested too. Mind you, Nuri is very confused. She was like, oh my God, that's not what we planned. That's not what we said we would do, Cyrus. But then Cyrus flipped the script on her and said, I'm not loyal to none of you bitches. Y'all loyal to me. And then I do what I want. And your son did XYZ. I forget what Flint did. Oh, he tried to kill Grace. He was like, your son tried to murder the last gargoyle. And nobody had an argument for that because that was true. And he was like, we can't just have anybody murdering the last gargoyle. That's for me to do. That's what I am Voldemort. And I kill Harry Potter. And nobody else. Only me. And so he throws Flint in prison too. So there they go. Hudson, Flint, and Grace off to Azkaban. So they get there and this place is horrible. I'm talking wretched. It cancels out your powers. So they put these shackles on you, and then the walls are also made out of the same thing, and then it's very clear that these are the same shackles and metal and stuff that is holding the unkillable beast in that cave, right? So they know that they're definitely in the right place and that the person that made them certainly should be here. It's just a matter of finding them, right? But the way this prison works is you have to repent to get out. And in order to do that, you have to go into the torture cell, and then they decide if you're sorry enough or not. And then you also get to go to like the marketplace and shopping. So you go into the torture cell or whatever, and you can go shopping. There's like vendors that come in, or you can buy nail polish, you can buy books, clothes, you can gamble, whatever. But money is king here. And so the more money you have, the more stability you have, or whatever. Anyway, Nuri's mother told them to find a dude called Remy. That's important. So in this prison, they meet up with Remy and Calder. I know, easy, right? Barely an inconvenience because they're cellmates. Remy is a boy man. I think he's around the same age as them. He's got to be like 19, 20, something like that, who was born there. So he's never been on the outside world, and his only crime was being born. I know, it's rough. Cold world. And Calder is a manticore, and they're cool. They're road dogs. They don't go together, but they're like best friends and inseparable, because you gotta have a team while you're down here, right? We don't know what Calder did, but I think she was gutting niggas, because she says entrails are tasty. So I think she was eating folk. I don't know. Anyway, she cool. She's very vain, you know. She's kind of giving Rosalie of Twilight, where she's gorgeous and she's always flipping her hair and she's, you know, whatever. And then Remy, he's got a New Orleans accent, which is interesting, Grace notes, considering that he's never been there before. So he's always calling her Cher, and he's got the heavy drawl and stuff. And she asks him, well, where did this come from? And I guess the prison guards and people around were from there, and then they just kind of rubbed off on him because they raised him. The torture chamber, let's get into this. In order to get down to where the giant is that they need to get to, they have to go through the torture chamber, and then they have to go through and like make some deals and make money, and then get taken to where he's at, right? The torture chamber is basically a hallucination where they show you your darkest moment, your deepest regret, pretty much the reason why you're in prison, and make you relive it. I want to say 10 hours or something. Like it's a while that they just have you reliving the situation over and over and over, right? So they have to go do that. They get chose, they go do it. And Remy's able to keep himself out of it, and he was able to keep Grace out of it. Now, it may be that because Grace is a gargoyle, and we know that regular magic doesn't work on her, that might have been one of the ways that Remy was able to keep her from going into the torture hallucination. But Calder and Flint and Hudson very much have to live through it, and so they just kind of have to sit there and watch them. And it's like they're having a really bad nightmare. So they tuck them into their beds and they try to keep them comfortable, but they're screaming, they're kicking, they're flailing, they're begging, they're crying, they're doing all of this because it's bad. Okay. And the only person that we get to find out what their torture was is Hudson. We don't know what Flint's looked like, and we don't know what Calder's looked like. But on the first night that it happens, they look very worse for wear. They look haunted. They look very, 1,000-yard stare. It's looking like, oh my God. Can't go through that too many times. And usually you're not supposed to. Usually it's supposed to be a one and done, and then you get to go down to the market and go do what you go and do. But they got set up and they had to do it 7 times, which is unheard of. So they had to get tortured a lot, and it was taking a toll on all of them. It was getting to the point to where they would stop eating, they would stop talking. Hudson would stop letting Grace touch him. It was all bad. It was all bad. And this goes on for several chapters. This was like probably the middle of the book, the meat and potatoes, where things was just really going down, right? And so they would do the torture, they would go down there, and then they would go get money at the market. They was like arm wrestling, they was fighting, whatever. Then they go back to their cell, torture, and they had to do this for like a week straight, right? Which is very unusual, which makes it seem like someone is doing this to them on purpose, because they are, because the book has to happen. On the other side of that, we find out that Hudson's nightmare torture is him killing Grace, and you're thinking, well, he never killed Grace. But here's the rub, here's the thing, okay? Remember in the first book when they said that he was taking over the students' minds and making them kill people? It was like that. It was like he's being mind controlled. It was showing him what it feels like to be mind controlled, to not be able to stop doing what you're doing. So the feeling that those students had when he had them going out and killing their peers and stuff, even though it was for a good cause or whatever, he was still taking their agency from them. And so his torture was having his agency taken from him and kill Grace. And so as much as he didn't want to do it, and he kept telling her to run and get away from him and stuff, he would always end up tearing her throat out and, killing her. And it was just hell for him. So anyway, so he has to go through these tortures that he bestowed on other people and whatnot. Grace has to enter the torture realm hallucination to save him because Buddy's really going through it, and if he go through it one more time, he's probably gonna crack his mind. He's losing it. He's about to check out. He's about to be out of here. So she goes in there and she sees what the hallucination torture is happening of him having to kill her, and she's telling him like, no, it's okay, no, you don't have to do this, you don't have to feel bad, it's not real, I'm here, she's not real. And then she breaks the cycle, and then she's able to save him and stuff, and it was actually really cool. It actually was, and like, I'm saying it the way that I'm saying it, but if you read it, you know, you were there. So they go through all this, they get to the giant, they tell him what's going on, that they need him to make a key. I think they either need him to make the key, or if he has the key on him, that they need it so that they can go save the unkillable beast and, you know, start getting stuff into motion because they gotta defeat Cyrus. And the giant is like, all right, but you're gonna have to take me with you. And that's kind of a problem because she only has the 3 flowers, and now there are 4 members. There's Grace, there's Hudson, there's what's his name, Flint, and now the giant. And then on top of that, we've got Calder, okay, and we've got Remy. And so there's 3 flowers, and now we've got, how many people did I just say? 6. Okay, 6 people. We're down 3 flowers. Remy says it's cool, because Remy can see the future. I don't think I said that. Remy can see the future, and he says, I see myself getting out of this prison, but not with the flowers, so don't worry about me. So now we're down to 5, right? Calder just goes ahead and takes one. She said, you're not leaving me. So she goes ahead and takes one. Now they're down to 2. Oh, problem, right? Big problems. And then they give 2, I think, to the giant because he eats one, and it's not enough to knock him out because it's supposed to be a sedative, right? I guess a heavy sedative. But he's a giant, so like 1 dose of flour isn't enough. So then he takes 2, and then now they're in a tough situation, right? So at this point, they meet with Ashtray. Now, anybody that watched Euphoria remembers that Ashtray was all of like 12 years old, running shit in the background, right? That's essentially this kid. He's all of 12 years old too, seemingly. You know, whatever version of paranormal he is a child. He's kind of snot-nosed. He's kind of running around doing this, that, and the third. A little bit of a crybaby, and very much like how you would expect like a 12-year-old to be, I guess, that suddenly has all of the power. I mean, I guess we could chop it up to like a cross between Ashtray with his no-nonsense, like all business, like state why you're here and make it quick because time is money, and like Draco Malfoy from the first movie where he's just kind of like a snot-nosed little shit, you know. That's who they're dealing with. That's who owns this prison. Now they have to appeal to this child to try to get out, and the kid tells him, listen, I'll do it. I am a fair boy. I'll let you out. But you gotta fight about it. So then they go to this gladiator arena type situation, and it's only Hudson and Grace. I don't know where the other ones are. I don't know. I don't remember what happens, why they didn't fight too. They didn't get chosen, whatever. So it's them, and they gotta make it happen. And boy, by the way, not a Stanley Cup. We're talking a regular, nice little confection from Walmart. It was a Christmas gift for my best friend's mother. Isn't she darling? I absolutely love it. Couldn't have been more than $10 because who out here about to spend $50 on a tumbler? I digress. So they go through a whole lot of rigmarole. I mean, it's looking dire as it always is. They gotta fight 2 giants. Hudson is running on fumes because he's been using his power almost this whole time trying to keep them together. What's her name? Grace is just a human trying to fight against these giants because her gargoyle powers are gone. It's a lot, and it's a very stressful read. So I will leave you to that, but they do make it out on the other side, but just by the skin of their teeth. I mean, I don't know how they keep surviving these situations, to be honest. But they do. They make it out, and then they link up with their friends on the outside because, you know, the power of friendship. Everybody comes together. Story has to happen. So then they go storm the beach of Normandy again. That's where the fight is going to take place again, right outside the cave of the unkillable beast where they was the last time, right? Cyrus and all his goons have pulled up. He's got witches, he's got dragons, he's got vampires, and they knew that, so they pulled up with the intent to fight. Mind you, everybody's still running on fumes. Okay, let's think of it. If we're playing a video game, their hit point is probably like a solid 5. It's a one hitter quitter, and somehow they're like, we're gonna storm into battle, we're gonna seize the day, because they always do. This is their mentality, because oftentimes they don't ever do the thinking. They never do the thinking, but time is of the essence, and they got to get there to unlock the unkillable beast to get the crown before Cyrus does. This crown is apparently very powerful and potent, and if Cyrus wants it, that means that they have to get to it first. So they do that. They get there, and this big battle breaks out. Big battle. Boom.
Big. Bada big boom.
And Luca, that's Flint's boyfriend. I couldn't remember his name to save my life before. Luca, he sees that Flint gets hurt. Flint gets hurt bad. I mean, he gets hurt bad. It's not looking like Flint's gonna make it. It's not looking like he's gonna make it. He got hit in his leg. It severed what is the artery? I'll put it down below. I can't even think of it right now. But that artery got severed, and he's getting ready to bleed out. I mean, this man has moments left. But Grace, now that everybody's powers is back and restored, did I say that? They are. And she's a healer. She's the medic on the team. She's able to pull power from people around her to try to stitch him back together. She's basically using her nin abilities to put this man's arteries and blood vessels and muscles and sinews and tissues and stuff back together. It's not a fast process, and she's not perfect at it, because this is in fact her first time doing it. But baby, thank God she did, because we almost lost the good one. Lucas sees this happening, and he's panicking and stuff, and so he's trying to, keep the area clear for Grace to be able to heal his boyfriend. However, he gets got. A witch hits him dead in his chest with a spell. I think it was like electricity, lightning, something. Got him. He's gone. He died. And she couldn't save him. So now everybody's absolutely devastated about this. Meanwhile, she's still trying to save Luca. She's gathering power from Hudson and Jackson because they're the most powerful ones there. I think Macy tips her a little bit, and she's able to bring him back, right? She gets them together. He sits up and he's like, whoa, what happened? Where am I? And that sort of thing. And then they have to tell him that Luca died. And that went really well. That pretty much went the way you would expect it might. So after that, he kind of goes into a fit, and he's mad at everybody, which I get grief. But the battle continues. The battle rages on, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So then Hudson goes ahead and decides to make a gangster decision, and he goes ahead and dusts everybody. Everybody. Kills everybody on the battlefield. That was an op. Not absolutely everybody, but he killed everybody. That was an op. And everybody's kind of like, damn, you could have started with that. You could have actually opened the battle sequence with just that, and then we didn't have to do none of this. Meanwhile, Jackson runs back up to the fray, and he tells him, Cyrus bit me. He got me right about okay, that eternal bite. So that does in fact mean that it's taken down for old Jackson. Everybody's mortified. I mean, Grace is losing it, because they did all of this to try to save him and restore the bond and stuff, and so everyone's devastated. Somewhere in between here, though, what's her name? Grace decides that she's not in fact going to break the bond with Hudson. She started liking the fact that she's made it to Hudson. It took her a long time to come around, but she decided, we're gonna figure out whatever we need to figure out to save Jackson, but me and you, we in this joker together. Which, I'm not gonna lie to you, she had me in the first half. Because she was very staunchly like, I'm gonna be with Jackson. I'm gonna save Jackson. Her thing was, it was this, listen. She said, I can either choose the boy that will be fine without me, or I can choose the boy who will die without me. So she was like, Jackson just cannot survive without me, girl. He just can't do it. It's just not possible. I have to be with him because he'll just be a mess without me, honey. A mess. And he was, but listen, not fair. Not fair, okay? And then to think that Hudson would survive well without her. I mean, he talks a big game. He was like, I would understand. I would still want to be in the vicinity of you. I would want to, you know, like be your friend at the very least. These boys are stuck. These boys are stuck. Grace got it. She got that woo-woo apparently, because they can't be without her. So anyway, Jackson dies. Yeah, he dies. He definitely dies. And it looks painful. It was very much the same way where when Grace got bit and she was convulsing and it was very terrible. The same thing happens with Jackson, except for he legit does die. And this fucks Hudson up. Maybe it was at this point where he goes ahead and dusts everybody. Maybe it was, yeah. I think I got a little ahead of myself there. So Jackson dies, fucks Hudson up, and then he just dusts everybody. Which at point, now everybody's mad and saying like, you could have just opened with that, because now we're down 2 soldiers, and I think it was just Luca and Jackson that died at this point. And I was crushed, because I cannot believe the good boy Jackson is gone, but he is. Until, I know, you thought, no. Nobody's just making real sacrifices in their series. Come on. It's not Game of Thrones, honey. So then Nuri, Flint's mother, she comes up and she was like, I tried it. Y'all said I tried it. I didn't believe you. And now looking around the battlefield, I did try it. Grace, you saved my son's life. And for that, I owe you. And your friends, you helped. And so now she owes them big time, right? So she turns into a dragon, and then she slits her chest open and she grabs her dragon heart stone. And that's the dragon heart stone is the thing that enables them to turn into dragons. Yeah, it's like a physical thing. So now that she's taken it out, she gives it to Jackson. I don't know, like sinks it into his chest or something, pumps his heart a little bit, CPR, brings him back. He's back. Yes, the good boy Jax is back. So he sits up and he was like, whoa, oh my God, that was fucking nuts. I was dead. I was gone. That was crazy. And everyone was like, oh my God. Hudson is beside himself and he just keeps like looking at his brother and he was like, you're back. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I thought you was gone. I thought I lost you. And Jackson was like, I think 2 steps back though. They still not like close. But Hudson really loves his brother, of course. I mean, that's his brother, you know? So now that Nuri has sacrificed her dragon heart to Jackson to bring him back to life.
I was dead, but now I have come back to life.
She can no longer turn into a dragon. She is a dragonless dragon queen. Big deal, right? Because now it's a matter of is the dragon court going to continue to respect her now that she's not a dragon anymore, as well as she specifically told Jackson to take care of my boy, see that he is safe as a thank you or whatever. I don't see how they're still going back and forth because he protected him first and then she gave him her heart. Now he owes her like a favor back. I'm like, it's kind of like a never-ending cycle, but you know, Jax is back. Flint absolutely feels crazy about all of this, of course, because now his mother has given her dragon heart away to his first love, who still doesn't have these kind of feelings for him. So that's kind of complicated and murky, on top of the fact that his boyfriend just died and he couldn't do anything about it, and neither could anyone else. It was genuinely a tragedy. That's the thing about war, you know? Right, so now that he's come back to life and the dragon heart has repaired and everything, his soul is repaired. So now he's like back to 100%. He was a normal boy again, but with some changes that we learn about in the next book, which we will get into soon, so stay tuned. And so now it's time to go free the unkillable beast. They go and unlock the shackles. He turns back into a human, but he's kind of incoherent. He can't He can't talk properly because he's been trapped in his gargoyle state for 1,000 years. Hasn't had anyone to talk to, kind of started going crazy. That he's unable to communicate properly. But the one thing that he was able to do was give her the crown. Okay, remember the crown we've been talking about? He gives her the crown, puts that on her hand too. It's like another tattoo. There's a lot of like transferring onto the hand type situation. So she has a crown on her hand, and he tells them that you have to find her. I have to protect her. You have to give her the crown. You have to find her. And everybody keeps asking, like, who is her? Who is her? But he can't say, he can't get it out because his mind, it's still muddled. But they know that there's a her somewhere out there that they need to find. And yeah, that's how that book ends. Very long book, very bloated book. Lot happens, but I did like it. I did actually like it. I would venture to say that as far as my favorite books so far, it might be going in order actually. I really liked Crush and I really liked Crave. I think Crush might actually be my favorite, then Crave, and then Covet. We will get into court soon, so stay tuned. Do you guys think Grace made the right choice by going ahead and deciding to stay mated to Hudson, or do you think that she would have went back with Jackson? Were you freaking out that Jackson was just gonna be gone? Because I was. I thought he was gone. I thought that was it, and I was like, oh, this series didn't come to play, but then it did. It actually played directly in our face, because a few pages later, he came back, and it's just kind of like, you know, if you're gonna do it, then do it. You know, if you want this to hurt and just break us, then you gotta leave it. Sometimes characters gotta die, and we hate that. I didn't want Jackson to die. I was pissed when it happened. When he came back, I was halfway relieved, but also there's no permanence here, right? I mean, you gotta stick to your guns. So, but yes, Jax is back, and I'm glad. I just hope that his life could get a little bit easier, and that has not been the case thus far. But we'll talk. We will talk. And as always, may you see with a million eyes.